This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning and welcome to Monkhouse on Mondays. Today I'm honoured to be joined by Andy Baker, who's the Chief Exec and founder of Healthtrack Club. So good morning, Andy. How are you today?
Good morning, David. Good to see you again.
Yeah, we seem to keep bumping into each other, don't we, at events and ActiveNet and things like that, and we get a chance to chew the cud. So this time people are going to get to watch us chew the cud, which will be really interesting. Yeah. So Andy, just need to check in before we start. Chief Medical Officer's been telling us to make sure we take our exercise every day. What have you been up to sort of maintain your physical activity levels?
Well, I live in a little village just outside Bath, and I've always avoided cycling on the roads because I live off the A4. But with all the roads being clear, I've been doing a lot of cycling, road biking. I've always done mountain biking, but so I've been really basing all my fitness around that, and I've been doing 70, 80 miles a week, which for me is unheard of. So that's where I've been going. I haven't really got into the Zoom Zumba type stuff because my David Lloyd membership was frozen. I played a bit of tennis this last week.
Good.
Gonna see if I can get my golf down, my handicap down over the next few weeks. But yeah, like a lot of people live in villages. Probably I've got the fittest dogs in the village now.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I live in open countryside, and the volume of people walking, riding, cycling, as you say, has just increased exponentially. It's been fantastic. Yeah. But let's talk about Healthtrack, the clubs. What was lockdown like for you guys? What happened?
Well, we decided as a startup, we thought four of us who are the main shareholders and directors, because we've been in development for quite a while. We knew when we started this that it would take 3 or 4 years to get to market, because building big clubs, 60, 70,000 square feet, 12 million new build, barriers to entry are huge. And I'll go on to explain on how we've broken some of those barriers down. So the four of us and some of the board, well, the four of us, we decided not to furlough and went to a 3-day week for 4 months. So personally, we'll all take a bit of a hit, but professionally and credibility-wise, we just felt furlough wasn't right for us. And we've had a lot of support from our supplier partnerships. We've got an evolving consortium now of Precor, eGym, NetPulse, David Minton, Liz Berry at Leisure Media, and that's where we're going. In terms of how we're going to take the business forward.
Okay, so it's quite interesting that you decided to not furlough. I've not furloughed myself, and the workload has just gone exponential. But it's more, I think, because I'm trying to maintain profile. I'm trying to do stuff for the good of the sector. So it's really good to hear that you had that conversation around that. So are you starting to think about the sort of what happens next bit? So because you said furloughed for 4 months. Now, I'll be honest, I thought 6 weeks tops. So I'm impressed you've future thought at 4 months.
Yeah. Well, where we're going, we're taking over a big club in the southwest of England. And we were planning to open it for September, October. So we've now put that back until January, February next year. And we're doing a bit of work on almost creating like a virtual pre-launch. We won't do the pre-launch until with porta cabins and various ways of marketing the facility in the city until probably about October. So we're starting to create a bit of a virtual presence, and also the idea is I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and the idea is you're building up your profile through LinkedIn anyway, because at the end of the day, I'm the founder of the business, and a lot of the business strategy and DNA comes from my background and how I've evolved. So that's really important for us. We've got a lot of exciting partnerships to come. Ironically, we were planning on having a club where the only way you can enter the facility as a family club is by pre-booking your slot. Because for many years, I've seen too many people just be a member, turn up, go in the gym, not really do classes. Some don't even swim, and in 12 months' time, they're not there. So by pre-booking and having pre-booking slots, I think it reduces attrition. And that's where the market's going now. All the gyms are going to reopen with pre-bookable slots. I can see gyms and big clubs opening for an hour So everybody comes in on the hour to all the various classes and programs, booted out for half an hour. There's a deep clean, and then the next lot come in, and that's what we're planning to live with for the next 6-8 months, I think.
Okay, so tell me, what do you mean by a family club? What's it going to look like, this new business? What are you going to put in it? How will it attract me as a family?
Well, family clubs are all about the two big drivers, and this comes out of our work with Sainsbury's, because our Healthtrack clubs evolved with a partnership with Sainsbury's, because clearly there was a link between physical activity and food consumption. So Sainsbury's are a big group, and we tapped into all their insight and market research and consumer research. At the end of the day, it's all about service and price. So our clubs will have a pre-opening offer of £99 for a family of 4 per month, and then our premium membership is £150 a month. But in that, we will give 30 hours of childcare for the 2 children within the monthly package, where the parent doesn't have to be in the building. Hence the link to retail. So service is important, but also price is important. And a lot of people sort of look at what we're doing in development and say, oh, this is like the budget family clubs. Well, budget's the wrong word for family, because you don't see any budget nurseries. No. But clearly, there's some models in Europe, in Spain, where there's a proven market of lower price points, good service, but from a family perspective. And that's, so we expect to have bigger memberships, lower yield per member, but as the family package, you can then cross-sell all those memberships. So we expect to have more members than David Lloyd clubs in some of our clubs, because of our price point. And also what we're doing, because of our offering in our clubs, are going to have things like youth clubs and Go Ape type stuff, lots of activities for the older children rather than younger children. We've got revenue streams now in our business model where we're going to attract people from the 1 hour demographic point, which is new to the industry, because most people are members of health clubs within 20-minute demographic drive time. So we're going to attract families who'll come for the day, 65 quid for a family ticket, just as they would go to, say, the Snow Dome at Milton Keynes or a birthday party in an adventure park, an hour away. So we're starting to bring in some kind of urban type centre parks offerings, where obviously clearly people won't want to be members because they live too far away, but they will want to come once or twice a month.
Absolutely, and that must be good for the locations that you're going to have these clubs, because that means destination, that means economic growth, it means maybe coming and staying or having a meal somewhere. If they're not having a meal with you, maybe going to the cinema and something else and make it a day out. So that's pretty impressive. I just want to come back to that piece around your planning around booking, because one of my first jobs, Gloucester Leisure Centre, 19-year-old spotty lifeguard, and we used to shut at 10 o'clock in the morning every day to clean. Or that's what we told our customers. Actually, we were all having bacon sandwiches in the staff room. But it's really interesting when you talk about the things that we're going to have to do coming out of lockdown that actually might become common practice. And that idea that we can start putting things in place now that actually we may have always wanted to do to make the business easier to manage, to make it easier to maintain. So what sort of other future thinking are you looking at as part of the rollout of Healthtrack?
Well, what was really interesting with the insight with Sainsbury's, and the only guy who's ever read the Sainsbury's Insight is David Minton, who I work with and go on very well with. In terms of that retail market, what consumers were telling us is we don't like barriers at these clubs or leisure centres. Don't like them. So we've been working on facial recognition, where the cameras they recognise members, but more importantly, they recognise non-members even more.
Right.
So by doing that, facial recognition, we think, is a real USP, because we will have staff out in the club with their iPads, a bit similar to the Apple stores, and somebody who is a non-member will pop up onto their iPad saying they're a non-member. Now, we're happy for non-members to be in the communal areas and the cafes, having a coffee or something, or waiting for their children, but they can't go into the zones, which again is all swiped through cards. Right. So it's all about control, but more importantly, we know when people will be coming. because it's all programmed in. And I think this is very relevant now, more relevant now, because clearly consumers' behaviour in the way they work is going to change. So, you know, people are starting to say, but it's a $60,000 question, that the morning and evening peak time slots, you know, are going to change, and people are going to use the clubs and leisure centres and gyms right across the day. So maybe the off-peak type memberships will go completely. We don't plan to have any peak and off-peak memberships. We're having 7 or 8 different price points, whether you're a child, a youth, a family, an OAP, an over 55, because we expect a lot of families to join. If you think about it, 2,000 families with their grandparents is 10,000 members.
Yeah.
And at £99 for a family of 4, with no conditions that local authority operators have, because they have to work with the local authorities and all the various different subsidies and price points. We know this works in Spain. We know it works in Germany. So we plan to bring it to the UK. So yeah, insight and research has driven this project.
Excellent. That's really interesting that you've started, because a lot of us always operate on gut feel, and I run a business that helps people actually make gut feel into reality. You know, our survey of members, 65,000 members, has been so well received because it started to give us some insight as to what the customer's thinking. So you've talked about Dave Minton, so you've done all the latent demand and that type of stuff, but by the feel of it, you've gone a bit deeper. You know, you're talking about the Sainsbury's research and things like that. Was there any particular piece of insight that made you change direction, that made you go, actually, my gut told me this, but the insight told me that?
Well, from my old days at David Lloyd, clearly their focus from the family perspective in terms of children's provision is the under 6s. And we've spotted a big gap because, you know, we've been recruiting for an MD for the business for 3 or 4 months. So we've met a lot of top people in the industry. They've all verified what we've been saying. Where we think there's a big gap in the market is not the under 6s, but the 6 to 16-year-olds.
Right.
And that's what surprised me in terms of provision for that market, where a lot of the older kids don't want to be in these clubs because there isn't a lot for them to do on their own. They've got to be with their parents because they have to be driven there. So, you know, once children have learned to swim, you know, swimming becomes different. So I think what we're about is education, and we're going to introduce lots of youth club type activities for the older kids. We're going to educational programs. You know, always the value programs are at £8–10 an hour. Look at something called Explore Learning, which is maths and English language clubs in supermarkets. You know, they come in at about £10 an hour, where it's online tuition for one-to-one teaching in maths and English. We're applying those principles to the health and fitness market, and that's why we've attracted investment. We've attracted retail partners, and that's where we're going. So that surprised me, but in the back of my mind, it's always been about teenage fitness, and I'm a big advocate. What a lot of people realise, and you know, this is about sharing with the market. Mental health in teenage girls is the #1 topic in schools today. It's not exam results, it's not sports results, it's mental health in teenage girls. Fitness can be such a big winner for that, but the industry's been really slow here. And you know, I've got a major retail brand that wants to go into this space, but until operators change their mindset, you know, we've got to allow these teenagers into gyms, because there are roughly 8,000 gyms in the UK. When I say gym, that could be a CrossFit, a leisure centre gym, a David Lloyd, a hotel gym. Well, only 50% of them allow teenagers in. So that's a huge wasted resource. The argument of health and safety doesn't add up, because we're in 2020 now with technology. For me, that's a cop out for the marketing department. And I've already helped one particular club. He was going under about 2 years ago, and we said bring in a parent and teenage membership.
Right.
And he did. He brought all his lapsed parents back, and at £28.99 for a teenager and their parent, he got 500 memberships, and it saved his club.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. Andy. That's the note, Andy. We're going to have to stop, because as always with you and I, we get carried away with our conversation. So we've had our time. Really useful insight there, Andy. Thank you so much. you know, I'm not going to wish you luck for the clubs because you don't need it. You'll have put enough effort and time and thought into this. You don't need luck. So I'm really looking forward to the first club opening and coming to see it. So Andy, thank you very much for your time. Take care, and I'll see you. Bye.
All the best. Bye.